trigger happy and I give less than a fuck. Love me or hate me, I'ma show enough, rip shit up. It's Mr. Nothing, nice on a mic stand. Mic in the left and the zest in my right hand. I took a puff, had enough now, hold up. If that was Indo, niggas getting rolled up.
What's going on, folks? This is Acid Roots. I'm going to review b.LaY's second mixtape, Initiation II. This popped up in 2014, and apparently there was an Initiation 1, but I've looked around for it, and it seems like it's kind of difficult to find. I'm curious if that had any Deuce features or stuff like that, just because b.LaY, if you don't know, he was kind of affiliated with Deuce's Nine Lives label back in like mid 2012 to about early 2014. So he kind of replaced Truth as like the pretty much second most popular Nine Lives artist until about 2014, and then Gadget took over from there. But basically, b.LaY, this project is not affiliated with Deuce's camp, but the whole situation about it is it still kind of to me feels like an after effect and an afterthought of like Deuce's kind of preposition, just because it is kind of affiliated lightly. It's the similar kind of fashion, but then it kind of isn't. Like, at least I can say that b.LaY messed with Ronnie Radke, who's an affiliate of Deuce, and they've kind of collaborated on a couple songs before, but for the most part, this mixtape reminds me of like something Ritz would do, and kind of like a sense of like Tech Nine in like his mid 2000s days, and maybe a taste of Chris Calico also. He's definitely got that underground hip hop appeal, makes some really slinky club hits, and the fact that this is free is a bona fide plus all around. But I look at the concept behind it, and kind of the unfortunate thing is this is really his only project that's left that's available out to the public anymore. I really don't know what became of b.LaY and where he went and what he's up to nowadays. All of these are big question marks and kind of mysteries overall. I can at least safely say he doesn't have the same affiliation with Deuce that he might have had like 10 or 9 years ago. But just to kind of say the concept of it is this Initiation 2 is an interesting project, and it does have some music videos off of it that had some pretty, public appeal towards them, especially considering that this was an underground project and it was released for free. So basically, the two singles from this project were Lost My Way and Days Go By, both of which kind of, like I said, these songs remind me of Ritz. They have this real kind of snakish and kind of overall crunchy and just kind of ghoulish and like real freak show, or just an overall freaky and kind of creeping club tracks on here. It just really feels like I need more describing words, I might suppose, but just to kind of say that they really have like a ghoulish and kind of like specter-like kind of feel towards them. I feel like the production is great. We'll put it that way. The production is great, and on the single Days Go By, Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse is on here. I mean, his chorus is relatively short. I mean, I consider that just because this is a free song. I like this song, but I almost wish that Ronnie Radke would have given him like maybe a slightly better chorus. I mean, it's good for what it is, but I do wish it could have been like a hair or two better. But it is a great song, and I also like b.LaY's shrieking on the chorus also. That's another good touch to that Days Go By song. And just about everything about that song is really kick-ass. But Lost My Way is kind of in the same concept. Both of these are basically pretty mighty and overall just creeping and kind of just spooky and specter-like kind of club songs that just have the right appeal, especially considering they're free. That's a big plus. Easy to listen to. I think the only real portion about it is some people might say, well, who the fuck is b.LaY? That's about the only situation. I really feel like it's kind of hard to kind of grasp who this cat might be and what the concept of what he's up to really is. Now, I mean, apart from that, that's kind of how I feel about it. That's why I'm glad that there were two singles off this project. Just because, like, some of these hits, like, I mean, I really feel like I looked at this mixtape up on Dat Piff, and it really only had, like, 1,700 downloads, which is pretty low. I mean, comparatively, that's pretty pedestrian for a rapper who supposedly knows Deuce and, or not supposedly, but for a rapper who knows Ronnie Radke and Deuce from Nine Lives. The fact that he's been affiliated with both of them and has hung out with them multiple times and toured with some of them, it's kind of interesting, or it's strange that like this mixtape has only been downloaded less than 2,000 times. It's gotten 25,000 listens, but not too many folks have really went to the trouble of downloading this, which is disappointing. Is because there's a lot of talent here. It is, I think, the biggest crutch to this project is just, well, two things. One, are people going to know who the hell b.LaY is in the first place? And two, how many of his songs, minus like the singles, are going to be given like a second thought at all? I mean, most folks would say, well, where's the Deuce song? Where's the Ronnie Radke song? And then from there, it's just kind of like, well, I'm not trying to write this guy off by saying that, but I kind of feel like the concept behind it kind of is that, it just feels like he's pretty close to pedestrian. I think that Nine Lives had a pretty vast popularity, but I think the concept behind it kind of is that it's not quite as popular as it may seem. I mean, Deuce kind of reached like a certain kind of height for himself, but really when Truth got arrested and the rest of Nine Lives kind of fell through, it really sabotaged where this momentum for this group was kind of going. b.LaY tried to pick up the pace, but it just didn't last long. And then when he went solo, it didn't do much better. So to me, in a lot of ways, I kind of look at b.LaY as kind of like an afterthought of what could have been. And that's no offense to his career and the quality of his music, but it's just disappointing just because unfortunately, most of the stuff just doesn't seem to really strike home, and a lot of it is like so low key. It's kind of like most people would be like, "Well, who the hell are you listening to?" It just feels like a standard local rapper that you might hear in your local city or something. But yeah, so to talk about like some of these songs and stuff, I mean, there were 6 out of 12 that I enjoyed. Dat Piff says that there's a secret 13th song with Skylar Grey called Final Warning, but that's actually a Skylar Grey song. I don't know what happened to that. But so the 6 songs I recommend to you would be In Your Life, Forgive Me, I Don't Give a Fuck, Cash Lay In, Lost My Way, and Days Go By. Now, I've talked about the 2 singles, but I Don't Give a Fuck sounds very similar to Lost My Way and Days Go By. Very similar in that type production. Forgive Me kind of has like this kind of brooding and kind of paranoid mixtape feel towards it. Just the overall kind of like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm kind of paranoid type feel. I like the approach in it. Really felt like a great mixtape cut. I wish that there would have been at least 2 or 3 other hits like that. In Your Life, yeah, I would definitely say that In Your Life and Cash Lay In is definitely a good posse track. I like the approach towards that. It's a real nice slinky. I wish that there would have been more guest rappers on here. That would have definitely helped, but there really wasn't. But this is the closest thing to that in Cash Lay In. It's a pretty cool track. Like I said, it's another low key number, but the beat is great and it just overall works. It has pretty, pretty pretty solid mixtape cut, especially considering that it's free, that it kicks ass. And then I would have to say In Your Life is kind of like a swag song if like that was still popular circa 2014. It's a real kind of just basic kind of mixtape song that's actually good. I mean, these are the sorts of numbers. I Don't Give a Fuck, In Your Life, and Cash Lay In are just basically basic mixtape songs that just kind of prove who b.LaY kind of is and kind of get forth with some of that. And it's like, these are great songs. I mean, that's the whole situation. They just are easy to listen to, really have a nice nightclub and outgoing and strip club kind of setting just to kind of vibe with. And I feel like if you pull off this number of showing some of these songs to some of your pals, you might kind of get like some brownie points and good tokens as far as trying to say that a lot of this works pretty extremely well. So that's kind of the situation. It's just one of those b.LaY is one of those folks that if you find, it just gives like bonus kind of vibes about it, just because it's pretty much probably about 7, 8, or 9 out of 10 people aren't going to really know much about this cat in the first place. That's kind of the situation as far as that goes. But I do kind of feel like it kicks ass in a lot of ways. That's just kind of the concept there as far as those 6 songs. But to talk about some of the moments I didn't like She Knows and City Lights were kind of trifling numbers about trying to appeal to women. I mean, they kind of tried to tell a story, but it didn't have like enough appeal towards it. I felt like those productions were not interesting enough, and they just didn't quite feel quite enough compelling to really go along with that. And Burning World was trying to be like a story kind of song, and some of these just didn't work that well. I felt like an almost song that I almost said could have worked was Legendary, but the production on there was just not quite appealing enough to really say it was close, but it was just kind of a plodding and thumping beat that I felt like could have been better. I mean, it's good for a free song, but it's not, it just felt like just a hair too underneath like the chopping block for what I would have said would probably have been worthwhile. But I probably would have upped the score had that worked. Paradise was kind of a weak song, and those are just a few of those. So yeah, this some kind of to sum up like the weaknesses, kind of topics that don't hit home that well, and like uninteresting productions, and kind of a lack of just like pungent compellingness and like the personality of trying to do it. And that's kind of the concept there as far as that kind of goes. uh I mean, he definitely has. He's a good mixtape rapper. I feel like b.LaY is a good mixtape rapper. He can make good songs. He has the ability to especially do like outgoing songs. But some of these other type of cuts that he tries to do, apart from like personality songs, car songs, swag songs, going out songs, I feel like some of the rest of the stuff that he tries to do with that kind of needs work. When I mean, for one thing, he needs like these club songs just because that is what's going to get him more appeal in the first place, because he's really not much of a noteworthy musician. I mean, him being an understudy of Deuce, and Deuce is kind of off to the side, especially in the rap game nowadays, or at least by 2014, after a couple years after Nine Lives happened. It's kind of like, well, that's the whole concept, is he needed every hit song that he could get. He needed the Rodney Radke verses, he needed the Deuce verses, and he needed like the other members of Nine Lives, and even some more hit folks that could have helped him out. I don't know who else could have been a guest rapper that could have helped him, but he needed some more friends in high places. It's not to say he's a crap rapper, but it's just the concept that he needed more moments. He doesn't need to be having like 3 or 4 personal cuts on here and some storytelling, kind of Brenda's Got a Baby type vibes, when it just didn't quite have the compellingness of that. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna give this album, or this mixtape, a 5.5 out of 10, just because there were 6 out of 12 that I enjoyed, and I really appreciated those. They're easy cuts, they're fun, they're compelling, and they really have like that spark to really say that it's worthwhile. And yeah, I just would have to say, I mean, I appreciate b.LaY for what he is, despite the fact that this was his most recent project, and he really has not even attempted to do much of anything nowadays. He's kind of fell off the map for almost the entire part, which is disappointing. That is disappointing, but what can you do? I mean, I think now that he's kind of 10 years removed from hanging out with Deuce, it's just kind of like, I don't know if he just went back to like blue or white collar kind of employment and that type stuff. But 5.5 out of 10. I'll give the social score a 7, just because 2 singles, 2 music videos off of just a free mixtape is pretty outstanding. So he really came out of pocket with this project and did some cool stuff. Both the singles kick ass, and they should get a lot of attention. It's just the fact that there's just not much else noteworthy. I mean, it really feels pretty damn near close to pedestrian, these kind of vibes. There's just no one noteworthy elsewise to speak of, like I've said, and he needs every club song that he gets to kind of help bolster him to get his like appeal up more. But it's not to say like he's not a sucky rapper. It's just the fact that he just needs more credentials. That's kind of the concept. But yeah, the future, I don't really, like I said, I don't know what b.LaY has kind of been up to, but it's just kind of underneath the concept. I mean, I think it's safe to say that his affiliation with Deuce is pretty much done, but he does at least have this kick-ass project to kind of indulge in, so that's something to know.